Have you ever just stopped to wonder how it all works? From a simple thought to the beat of your heart, it's all perfectly managed by this kind of biological superhighway. Well, today we're plugging in and exploring your body's electric symphony, the nervous system. So let's start with why this whole network is so ridiculously important. All right, to really get a feel for this system, let's put ourselves in a situation we've all been in. Picture this: you decide to go for a run. I mean, really think about it for a second. Your muscles start screaming for more oxygen, so your lungs kick into high gear. Your heart starts pounding to pump that oxygen-rich blood exactly where it's needed. It all just happens, automatically, in perfect sync. But how? Who's the invisible conductor leading this incredible orchestra? Well, the answer is a process called coordination. It's just the fancy biological term for how all the different parts of your body talk to each other and work as a team. And what's maybe even more amazing is that when you stop running, this same system brings everything back to normal. Your heart rate settles, your breathing calms. It's a total masterclass in biological control. Okay, so our bodies basically have two ways of doing this. You've got the endocrine system, which uses hormones. Think of it like sending a letter in the mail. It's effective, but it takes time. But for those split-second decisions you need when you're running, you need something way faster. You need the body's equivalent of instant messaging. You need the neural system. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. So, to really understand this high-speed network, we've got to zoom way, way in. I'm talking microscopic level. Let's meet the tiny little messenger that makes this whole thing possible. Say hello to the neuron. This little guy is the basic building block of your entire nervous system. You can think of it like a living, microscopic wire that is an expert at one thing: detecting, receiving, and passing on a message. And there are trillions of them, forming a network so vast that its connections literally outnumber the stars in our galaxy. Yeah, mind-blowing, right? So a neuron basically has three parts that work in a perfect sequence. A signal comes in through the dendrites, which act like antennas. That message then zips over to the cell body, which is kind of the command center. It processes the signal and decides if it's important enough to pass on. And if it is, bam, it fires that message down the axon, a long cable that transmits it to the next cell. It's so simple: receiver, processor, transmitter. Just brilliant. But hold on, what is this message exactly? It's not a little piece of paper or a chemical floating down a tube. Nope. It's something much faster, much more fundamental. It's a spark. It's pure electricity. So how does a living cell become a battery? Well, when a neuron is just sitting there waiting for a signal, it's in this state of constant tension. It works really hard to keep certain charged particles or ions on the outside of its wall and other ones on the inside. This difference creates an electrical charge, turning the neuron into a tiny loaded spring, a charged battery just waiting for something to happen. And then a stimulus arrives, and boom, the floodgates fly open. All those positively charged ions that were stuck outside, they rush into the axon, and that instantly flips the electrical charge inside from negative to positive. This sudden change triggers the very next section of the axon to do the exact same thing, which creates this amazing chain reaction, a wave of electricity that just zips all the way down the neuron. And that wave, my friends, is the nerve impulse. It's called the action potential. So you can really boil this whole incredible process down to a 4-step dance. Step 1, the stimulus arrives. Step 2, depolarization. That's the sodium ions rushing in. Step 3, propagation. The impulse travels down the axon. And step 4, repolarization. The neuron immediately resets itself by pushing other ions out, getting ready to fire all over again. And the craziest part? This whole thing happens in milliseconds. Now, an electrical pulse in a single neuron is amazing for sure, but the real magic, the whole point of a network, is how that message gets passed to the next neuron in line. Because here's the catch: they don't actually touch, there's a gap. That junction between two neurons is called a synapse. And the key detail is the synaptic cleft, this tiny, tiny gap filled with fluid. The electrical impulse can't just leap across it like a spark. No, it needs help. It needs a kind of chemical ferryman to carry the message across the water. And here's exactly how that ferry works. When our electrical impulse gets to the very end of the axon, it triggers the release of these chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. These little guys shoot across that tiny gap and dock onto receptors on the next neuron, kind of like a key fitting into a lock. And when that key turns, it throws open the gates on the next neuron, starting a brand new electrical impulse, just like that. The message has been passed on. So we've seen the messengers, we've seen how they talk to each other. Now, Let's zoom all the way back out. Let's go visit Command Central, the headquarters where billions upon billions of these messages are sorted and processed every single second. Welcome to the human brain. This is it, the command and control system for your entire body. Every single electrical spark we've been talking about is either on its way to this incredible structure or it was just sent out from it. This is the hub of everything. And just look at its to-do list. Yeah, of course, it's handling the big stuff we think about, complex thoughts, memory, emotions, all that. But it's also running the entire show behind the scenes, controlling your breathing, keeping your body temperature just right, your balance. It is quite literally everything that makes you, you. Now, to even begin to wrap our heads around this complexity, neuroscientists usually break the brain down into three major regions. We're just going to take a quick look at two of the most critical ones, the forebrain and the hindbrain. The forebrain is essentially where you live. The big wrinkly part on top, the cerebrum, handles all the higher-level stuff like personality, thoughts, and memories. Then, tucked deeper inside, you have the thalamus, which is like a grand central station for sensory and motor signals. And right below that is the hypothalamus, which manages all your basic survival urges, like hunger and thirst. Then, down at the base of the brain, you'll find the hindbrain. This is your body's life support system, the stuff that runs on autopilot. The pons acts as a bridge connecting different parts of the brain. The cerebellum is the master of coordination. It's the reason you can walk smoothly without thinking about it. And the medulla, well, it handles the vital functions you never have to think about, like your heartbeat and breathing, just working tirelessly 24/7 to keep you alive. So we've taken a journey from a single tiny ion all the way to the staggering complexity of the brain. Let's just take one final moment to reflect on what this all really means. Think about it. Every memory you hold dear, every creative idea you've ever had, every single emotion you feel, it all boils down to this: the movement of charged particles across a membrane, triggering a chemical message, which in turn sparks another electrical wave. Your entire conscious experience is a beautifully complex, perfectly timed electrochemical symphony. And that leaves us with one final, pretty profound question. If all the mechanics are just chemistry and electricity, a constant cascade of trillions of tiny sparks, where does the you come from? What is it that's actually experiencing it all and conducting this incredible symphony?